To say that Sri Lanka were humiliated in the final of the Asia Cup, a tournament of which they were not only the defending champions but also co-hosts, considering the fact that they had most of the matches and were even hosting the final, would be a bit of an understatement. The humbling that Sri Lanka ended up going under, at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo, well, it wasn't a match that, let's say, anyone was prepared for. Most people would have picked India to be the favourites to lift the Asia Cup, but few would have seen Sri Lanka surrender as meekly as they did. And considering the fact that there had been some signs of positive life when it comes to the Sri Lankan cricket, remember, they won the Asia Cup last year. They also did very well during the World Cup qualifiers. They went unbeaten, won every single match. They had even gone on a 13-match unbeaten streak. There was obviously positive signs, or what people thought were positive signs. Unfortunately, this match has really drowned out a lot of that noise, and the circus that will surround the Sri Lankan cricket team now will unfortunately be one filled with a lot of negative voices, considering that there is no good way to explain away a loss where your batters only scored 50 runs and you lost by 10 wickets, least of all the fact that it came in a final. Yet Dasun Shanaka, the Sri Lankan skipper, was at pains to point out a few positives that his team could take away from this particular match. Before we get to those, what we'll talk about is one reason which he gave, which he said actually kind of caught them a little bit off guard. What is that reason? Rain. Well, he said that I thought it will be a good pitch for batters, which is why he chose to bat after winning the toss. But the overcast conditions played a part. It was a tough day for us at the office. In fact, it did seem like that was the case due to the very simple reason that this was supposed to be a pitch that was going to give plenty of assistance to the spinners. Unfortunately for Sri Lanka, India's spinners didn't really need to do much. Kuldeep Yadav bowled 1 over, Washington Sundar bowled no overs, as did Ravindra Jadeja. Major damage was done by Mohammad Siraj, who was getting the ball to swing like crazy, and he was complemented by, of course, Jasprit Bumrah, who was also getting plenty of movement, and of course Hardik Pandya, who was troubling the batters as well. So the overcast conditions definitely played a part in what was, in essence, probably the most forgettable day in the history of Sri Lankan cricket. But as I said, Shanaka did point out a few positives. What exactly were those? He said there are lots of positives and then went on to list a few. He said that the way Sadira Samaravikrama and Kusal Perera, the way they batted against spin, also the way Charat Asalanka batted, these three will score heavily in good batting conditions in India. Now, that is a bold claim to make, but he's also not entirely wrong in stating that the conditions that you will be getting during the World Cup in India will be very different to the kind of conditions that were on offer in the Asia Cup. In the Asia Cup, you did see mixed conditions. I mean, within the Premadasa Stadium itself, on one pitch, you saw India versus Pakistan play out an absolute belter of a track where batters were getting plenty of, joy, and thereafter you saw India take on Sri Lanka itself on a pitch that was spinning like crazy. So you're not going to get such inconsistent, conditions during the World Cup. You're going to get very good batter-friendly conditions. But again, I don't remain that convinced that all of them will suddenly become magically better batsmen. But hey, you can't blame the skipper for trying to clutch on to some positives at the end of what was a very bad day. And it was in fact such a bad day that he actually had to go out of his way to apologize to Sri Lankan fans. He said, I would like to thank the supporters who came in numbers. I'm very sorry about the fact that we disappointed you. Thanks very much for the great support. And truth be told, I can understand why it is that Shanaka would choose to do that. You'd seen, in fact, some of the visuals that were coming in of Sri Lankan fans who were seated at the stadiums. They weren't disappointed or angry, they were just shell-shocked because they didn't expect such a capitulation, and therefore it only makes sense that the skipper did in fact go out of his way to apologize for the kind of showing, because the one thing we expected from the Sri Lankan team was some fight. Unfortunately, we didn't get that at all because whilst, as I said, it would have been reasonable to assume that India were favourites, we did expect the Sri Lankan team to put up a bit of fight the way they did against India in the Super Force game, which, by the way, they could have won if, they'd gotten some earlier wickets. But, I mean, the way this match went about, absolute capitulation, which is why he had to apologize to the fans and why he was at pains to point out a few positives that his side could take from this match. But what do you think? Do you feel that these are positives that were actually there? Do you think he was clutching at straws? You can let us know your opinion in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel and tap that bell icon as well. Also follow us across social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsLink app, and if you're already on the channel, go right ahead and check out some other videos. We've done lots more coming your way. For now though, from my side, it's bye-bye.